Hello, my name is Olivia, and welcome to my podcast, Periodically About PMDD. That's the podcast I'm creating in order to raise awareness about premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which is a much harder form of PMS. As I mentioned, our goal here is to learn, teach, and share about PMDD and try to help women who may need our support. I invite you to share the episodes and your comments with me. Let's go. In today, the very first episode, I've decided to share with you my own story, how I started to be part of the PMDD Warriors community. The story roots back to the summer 2024, as I remember well. And this is when I got my diagnosis, actually, but I have always had what I called back then very hard PMS. I would say it made my life miserable and complicated in many cases. I was having many appointments with various doctors, but as many of you probably, I have encountered more than once, of course, many times, so called medical gaslighting. So, the moment when the doctors tell you that actually everything is fine with you, so they don't see the problem. So, this is exactly what happened to me. But mainly the mood swings were something that was affecting my life a lot. Mm, So that was difficult to navigate everyday routines. So I've decided to dig even deeper. And when I realized one moment in the summer, it was, let me tell you about this uh, particular day, because I happened to have a meeting with one of my colleagues, let's say, at work every other week. So I remember one week that I was talking to this person and I was thinking that I have the worst job possible and the worst job in the world, and then that I really dislike this person. And also whether I should probably change my life drastically and immediately. And this is what I felt on that particular Wednesday. I remember vividly. And then 2 weeks after, on the very same similar meaning, on a very similar topic, I met the very same person, and I was thinking how wonderful it is to have such a wonderful job I have, that this guy is quite friendly and a nice person to spend a morning at work with. So that shocked me a lot because, as you can see, these thoughts were pretty different. So that started to be the beginning of me researching and searching for the answer, how I can call these mood swings and these changes in my thoughts, I would say, in my mind that come and go regularly, I would say. So both with my partner, we were trying to looking for more data in the internet. Back then, we were living in Poland, Europe. So back then, there weren't many professionals who were actually announcing that on their pages that they are specializing in that. So there was, to be honest, there was one person. So I had to travel to another city to meet her. And she got me this diagnosis, but she didn't give me actually much hope. I mean, she told me that this is that. She gave me the suggestions what I can do, but she wasn't the kind of professional um, doctor that I have willing to cooperate with. Just the form of her communication didn't click with me. But coming back to my symptoms, because I've mentioned before the meeting at work, which was the significant start of my research, actually. But other than these thoughts on this day, I had, as I told you, these hard PMS weeks, or there were even longer. So, what symptoms did I have that were, and let me repeat that, they were gaslit by many doctors, by mainly my gynecologist, because I remember I was telling many gynecologists that I was seeing back then, and they were just prescribing me some herbal things, supplements or something, which wasn't helpful. That they were not helpful at all. So it was even more frustrating. I remember also talking to my psychotherapist back then about my mood swings and that it worried me, but we couldn't we couldn't put a pin on it and actually catch that, because back then she didn't even know about PMDD and what PMDD was. So actually we were on the same page. So my symptoms were similar to the common cold. If it comes to somatic symptoms, of course, this is where I start. So they were similar to common cold. So this is illness that you get every month, that you feel weak, that you have no power to do anything. Sometimes you may have slight fever, you may have a cough or runny nose, but not necessarily. It's just that you feel under the weather. My neck was incredibly tense. I have my notes right here, and it says tense neck. And let me confirm, it was very high tension in there. I was practicing some yoga, some stretching. It was a little bit helpful, but it ended up to still be that tense. My breasts were very sore, actually, and that was problematic sometimes to even get dressed or go for a walk, because they moved too much and it was painful for me. I also had a bigger than usual hunger. Actually, I needed to eat much more, and I needed to consume much more caffeine. So I was drinking. I had to drink much more coffee. So these are the symptoms from my body that I have listed that I felt at the very beginning. In here, I can also add that I was suffering from migraines and huge headaches. So it also made my life miserable, as you can imagine. To tell you the truth, I would say, unfortunately, my blood tests were all okay. I'm saying unfortunately, which is like, as you can imagine, it is fortunate, but actually, it actually made my frustration even higher, because I couldn't see anything on the papers, and I really felt unwell. So jumping to my mental symptoms, which is a wild ride, because I was suffering from big mood swings, I'd say, because I'm a pretty optimistic person, I would say. I'm very open and quite cheerful, I would say. But right before, on my luteal phase, right before the bleeding, a few days before it, I was like a whole different person. I was crying for no reason. I was so sensitive to rejection. Mm, every little tiny thing at work or in my relationships seemed like the end of the world, I would say. I honestly felt like the worst person in the entire world, and I couldn't believe in myself at all. And that actually magically vanished at the very beginning of my menstrual bleeding, or a few days later. So that's weird. Would you agree that you don't believe in yourself at all one day and then it magically clicks, and then when you wake up, you know that you're a good person and you do your best. So I was thinking of resigning of actually everything. I was thinking of resigning my relationship, my job. Actually, I think I have to admit that I have quit two of my jobs because of PMDD. I didn't know it back then, but it was one of like in both cases, it was one of the main reasons why I couldn't handle the tasks that I was supposed to do back then. I was right before my bleeding, as I said, my mental symptoms. I was extremely irritated. I felt a huge anger and anxiety. I couldn't focus on anything, even on eye contact sometimes. I started s- hearing some radio in my head that may sound weird, but yeah, that's exactly what I mean. This is the thing that you wake up and you really think that somebody started the radio, but the radio is in your head. I normally don't listen to music at all, so my mind is pretty quiet normally throughout the month. But right before my bleeding, I start hearing this radio that stops right after I get my period. Yeah, so loss of concentration, hence the deprivation of sleep, I would say. It's super hard to fall asleep, but even harder to stay asleep. To me, it's like 2 or 3 2-hour naps throughout the day, and at 6 a.m. I'm like wide awake and I can start the day because I feel at alert all the time. Even if I sleep, I have nightmares all the time, and I even through my sleep I can feel this tension in my body. So if you question everything, you are also questioning your relationships, as I said, your life choices, your work. You you don't feel well in your body. You are sensitive to noises that I can admit. Oh dear God, every little noise can drive you crazy. As well as in my case, my skin is extremely irritated, so it's challenging to find something to wear, for example. So that's tricky also. We are coming to an end, I believe, because I've summed up all, I believe, all of my symptoms, majority of them. That's enough for the first episode. Have I mentioned the crying, uncontrollable crying? Yeah, that's a friend that you spend many days with. And yeah, luckily in my case, my partner, my life partner, turned out to be a big support and he accompanied me on the way. So it made my path easier, the path that I'm still on, and I'll continue to share with you. Um, I'm well past this beginning phase that I'm telling you about right now. So in the episodes to come, I'll be happy to share with you a bit more, as well as we'll find some ways how to help each other and how to help ourselves and everything and our women in our lives. So I believe and I keep my fingers crossed that you stay with me. And at the very end, I'd like to remind to every listener that Your period doesn't define you. Period. You can always contact me via my email, periodicallyaboutpmdd@gmail.com. I will be waiting for your stories, and we're gonna hear in another episode. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.